It was my mother's birthday, yet my husband didn't want to spend even a single penny. We're a modern couple. Each of us takes care of our own parents. Your mom has nothing to do with me. Silently, I took out the bill from his mother's birthday 3 months ago. All the gifts I had bought totaled nearly $3 million. Then why didn't you say anything back then? His face flushed. Only then did I truly understand what he meant by a modern marriage. My husband's name is Emily Johnson. We met back in college. When we began discussing marriage, my family requested a bride price of $180,000. He immediately scowled. There's no way I'm giving your family $180,000. Are your parents trying to sell their daughter? I don't have the money, and I can't ask my parents for such a large sum. They've worked hard their whole lives just to save for retirement. Taking that money would be unfilial. I casually asked what he planned to give her. Unexpectedly, that simple question ignited a full-blown argument. He flared up shouting, "Emily Johnson, have you forgotten? Is it really too much to show a little kindness on her birthday as a son-in-law?" Honestly, I never truly understood what he meant by an equal marriage. I just thought it meant a wedding without a bride price. After his scolding, my head spun. As a son-in-law, showing care is your choice. But the moment you're asked, it becomes something else. We agreed clearly. Everyone takes care of their own. If I choose to give, it's goodwill, not obligation. Perhaps seeing my silence and pale face, he softened his tone. I'm sorry. I know I spoke harshly just now, but rules are rules. Once set, they shouldn't be broken. And that was when I began to feel something wasn't right. I won't break the principle, he said firmly, chin held high. Is that so? Then what about Mother's Day? I bought your mother clothes supplements. Why didn't you say anything then? My stare made him blush. He stuttered, trying to explain. That was your goodwill toward her. After all, you're her daughter-in-law. I'm her daughter-in-law, and you're my mother's son-in-law. What have you shown for her birthday? I couldn't hold back any longer. I screamed in frustration. I already said, I'm willing to give on my own. But the moment you mention it, I won't give a thing. I did plan to buy a gift, but since you brought it up, I lost all desire. It's your mother's birthday, you take care of it. I won't be involved. His voice was ice cold. His eyes hard, as if laying down an order. I didn't bother to argue further. I simply replied in a quiet voice, then don't go. And true to his word, when the day came, he didn't show up at all. At first, I tried to stay composed, but the further I spoke, the more my nose stung, and tears began to flow. Mom, taking them out. But now that it's our family's turn, all he says is, you're not allowed to ask. It's just too cruel. The more I spoke, the more my anger flared. That entire evening, I must have said so many bitter things. I thought my parents would be furious, would scold him harshly. But no. Their response was calmer than I expected. Why cry, darling? Isn't this a good thing? After listening to their reasoning, I felt a weight lift off my chest. From that day on, my attitude toward his family changed completely. No gifts, no greetings. And I even left the family group chat. Not long after I left the group, my husband blew up. Emily, why did you leave the group without telling me? What if my parents want to contact you? He had barely returned from work when he started questioning me. Why would they need to find me? They can find you. We're in an equal marriage, remember? Each of us handles our own side. Besides, you're not even in my family's group chat. He stood there, speechless, unable to argue back. In the end, he just looked at me for a while, then silently walked into his study and made a phone call. I couldn't hear what he said, but after that, the group chat issue was never brought up again. Without the pressure of dealing with his family, I felt so much lighter. On good days, I'd cook. If not, the doctor said my liver isn't doing well. I shouldn't eat outside food. Can't you think about me for once? Then don't eat. The kitchen's still there. Cook for yourself if you want something else. I said coldly, glancing at him. The moment I mentioned him cooking, his temper flared. I'm already exhausted from work. Now you want me to come home and cook too? Sarcastic smile and spoke in a soft but cutting voice. Sorry, big brother, but other women get properly married with formal ceremonies and clear bride prices. That's why they're willing to take care of everything. But me? No bride price, no wedding. So don't expect rights without responsibility. The moment I finished speaking, his face darkened. In a fit of anger, he slammed the door and left without saying another word. From that day on, we lived together like complete strangers. It wasn't until just before Lunar New Year that, perhaps unable to bear the cold silence anymore, he suddenly transferred me a red envelope with $72. Staring at the WeChat transfer notification, I froze. What's this for? We had been married for 3 months, and all expenses had always been clear and calculated. Now, receiving such a hefty sum out of the blue, my first reaction wasn't joy, it was suspicion. What was he trying to pull this time? I just got my year-end bonus, so I sent you a little lucky money. Is that not okay? He glared at me, clearly irritated. The way he said it so casually made me feel like maybe I had been too doubtful. A bit embarrassed, I could only laugh it off and awkwardly scratched my head. After that red envelope, the atmosphere between us began to ease. It felt a little like the early days of our relationship, gentle and warm. But of course it didn't last long. Just a week later, new tensions quietly crept in. That night, as I was drifting into sleep, he suddenly leaned in close and whispered softly into my ear. Wifey, let's spend Lunar New Year at my parents' this year. Okay. Tomorrow I'll go with you to your family's place. How's that sound? His voice was gentle and cautious, as if afraid I'd refuse. To be honest, I didn't really mind where we spent the holiday. After all, his parents lived nearby, just 1 apartment block away from my mom's. On normal days, I'd often drop by my mom's for a quick meal. It's just, because of everything that had happened, I had lost all interest in maintaining ties with his family. So when he suddenly brought up the idea of celebrating New Year's there, I hesitated, a bit flustered. Sensing my reluctance, he gently coaxed, Babe, I know I used to say marriage is a mutual thing, and we should spend holidays with our own families. But this year is your first Lunar New Year as my wife. If you don't come, but I'm saying this now, tomorrow we're going to my family's. We have to go on the 2nd day of the new year. Don't you dare break your promise. He nodded eagerly, even thumped his chest as if swearing some grand oath. His family's home was only about 60 kilometers from the city where we worked, less than an hour's drive. So I didn't pack much. But the moment I brought a single bag to the car, his face turned cold. That's all you're bringing? He circled me a few times before suddenly blurting out the question like he'd lost his breath. Your place isn't far. 1 set of clothes is enough, isn't it? Didn't I see you buying a bunch of bird's nest, shark fin, lobster and stuff yesterday? Where are all those things? I replied with a gentle smile, my voice calm and composed. I thought that answer might calm him down a little, but instead, his expression grew darker by the second. What is wrong with you? And yet you couldn't even prepare a single gift for my parents. His voice turned preachy, full of reproach. You're married now. You should know how to prioritize your own family. You can't keep favoring your mom's side, always giving the best to them. Is that fair? My face darkened instantly. So that red envelope he sent a few days ago was actually meant for me to buy gifts for his parents? And I had thought maybe, just maybe, he had really changed. Turns out, he was still the same. Nothing had changed at all. Oh, and we didn't need to do the whole family visiting thing? But now it's the holiday and suddenly you want gifts, and not a word about fairness? Who's the greedy one here? I'd rather toss them in the river than let you take them. The more I spoke, the more worked up I got. I couldn't stop myself from letting a few harsh words slip. My husband turned pale with fury, his fingers trembling as he pointed at me, stammering for what felt like ages before finally blurting out, You bringing up money again? I sent you a red envelope with $520 before New Year. Only managed a feeble. Well, you can't just show up empty-handed, can you? What are we supposed to do now? He glared at me like I was the one at fault, but I didn't back down. I met his gaze head-on and replied sharply, What to do is your problem. It's your house, not mine. You're their son. If you didn't prepare anything, don't dump the responsibility on me. The daughter-in-law who never even got a proper wedding or a single penny of bride price. At the mention of bride price, he immediately fell silent, not daring to say another word. Chapter 2. In the end, James had no choice but to drive himself to the supermarket, picking up a box of cherries, some tangerines. I didn't prepare a red envelope for you, you know. If later you don't have anything to give my niece and nephew, you'll have to figure something out yourself. I could only sigh, truly speechless. Was he out of his mind? Did he really think I had money to spare just to hand out to his family's children? Because we had just argued, the two of us stayed silent for the entire drive. Thankfully, the house wasn't far, so we arrived in no time. As soon as my husband and I stepped through the gate, my mother-in-law came hurrying out to greet us, her face beaming with joy. She took my hands warmly and asked all kinds of caring questions. Was the trip tiring, dear? Has work been very stressful lately? Seeing her so enthusiastic, with children about 4 or 5 years old. Today the whole family was gathered, and everyone greeted each other cheerfully. The living room was filled with warmth and laughter. While we were sitting together chatting, my husband suddenly kept signaling at me with exaggerated winks, then motioned seriously for me to check my phone. Thinking something urgent had happened, I quickly opened it, only to be left completely speechless after reading his message. Don't you see my sister-in-law's in the kitchen cooking? Can't you be a little more thoughtful? Get up and help her, will you? Do you think you're a guest or something? Keep this up and my parents won't have a good impression of you. And to think I always praise you in front of them too. After reading that, I merely gave him a sideways glance, then calmly pretended not to have seen anything. I went on playing a game with my nephew like nothing had happened. Seriously? His sister-in-law had a proper wedding, with a bridal gift of $26,000. And me? What did I get? Why should I have to please anyone? Seeing that I had no intention of playing along, he couldn't lash out in front of everyone either. So he just sat beside me, sending message after message. But I didn't bother reading them anymore, simply focusing on playing with the little boy. At that moment, his sister, also my sister-in-law, turned to me and playfully asked, "You love kids so much. When are you planning to give this guy a little one of your own? A baby?" Was she kidding? I quickly waved my hands and laughed. "Oh, I'm not having any. I'm afraid I'll starve to death." Hearing that, she furrowed her brows, puzzled. "Starve to death? Why would you starve?" Sensing the conversation about to go off track, my husband quickly jumped in, his voice rushed. "Hey sis, I think Mom's calling you from the kitchen. You should go check it out." "Really? I didn't hear anything," she replied, standing up suspiciously and heading toward the kitchen. Taking advantage of the moment, my husband leaned close to my ear and whispered reproachfully, "What nonsense are you saying? Can't you watch your mouth at my place? When have I ever let you starve?" I replied coldly, "Not starve, huh? Sorry, but we split everything 50-50. If I get pregnant, I'll have to take at least 5 months off work. What am I supposed to live on then, You get to enjoy your life while I go hungry, and that's not starving? You!" He pointed directly at me in anger, but for a long moment couldn't utter a single word. In the end, all he could do was mumble a bitter, "Stop talking nonsense," and sulk in a corner, his expression dark as stormy skies. Throughout the entire gathering, my husband kept glancing at me with a sullen look, clearly displeased that I was just sitting there like a guest, not lifting a finger to help around the house. Perhaps to save face in front of the family, he eventually slipped into the kitchen to lend a hand with the cooking. To my surprise, the whole family started praising him endlessly. What a devoted husband. So considerate, won't even let his wife do housework. I could hardly hold in my laughter. I couldn't help but pull out my phone to record a short video, just to preserve this sweet moment of our so-called mutual marriage. At the time, I was still calm and detached, simply thinking, their family, their business, has nothing to do with me. Who would have thought that the biggest shock of the day was about to fall on me? I had just finished using the restroom and hadn't even made it back to the living room when my husband suddenly grabbed me and pulled me into a stairwell corner, face full of secrecy as he whispered, "I just overheard my brother say that his wife is planning to give Mom a big gold necklace for New Year's. Go withdraw some money quickly. Wrap it nicely for my mom in a beautiful red envelope. It doesn't have to be much, $30,000 is fine. But if you can manage $50,000, even better." Just make sure it's a bit more than what my sister-in-law gives. That's the only way it'll look right." As he spoke, he shoved the car keys into my hand. "Fine, just use mine then. Consider it me helping you save face in front of my family. But listen carefully, when we get home, I expect it back. I know exactly how much is in that account. So don't take more than you need." As he spoke, James slipped his card into my hand, wearing an air of self-satisfaction, like he had just done me a huge favor. I had nothing left to say. Seeing me still silent, he frowned, his voice rising with irritation. "Why are you still just standing there? I'm doing all this to help you, you know? You should be a bit more understanding. Don't blame my family if they end up looking down on you." I let out a soft laugh, my voice cold. "Like it even matters whether your family respects me or not. Are you daydreaming in broad daylight? Just thinking about how, on my own mother's birthday, you didn't spend a single cent. I couldn't hold it in anymore." Furious, I shoved his hand away and shouted straight into his face. Perhaps because he wanted to maintain the image of a harmonious couple in front of his family, the moment I raised my voice, James panicked and tried to cover my mouth. "Are you crazy? Why are you yelling like that? Only now you feel embarrassed? Afraid they'll hear me? Then why didn't you feel ashamed when you were doing something so disgraceful? Where are all those moral lessons now, huh? About how rules shouldn't be broken?" I must have hit a nerve, because James turned red with anger. He jabbed a finger at me and spat out words dripping with contempt. "You, Emily Johnson, why have you become so materialistic? It's just a red envelope. Giving your mother-in-law a New Year's gift. What's the big deal? You keep harping on about how I didn't buy your mom a birthday present, like you just can't let it go. Fine. Next year on your mom's birthday, I'll give her a big red envelope. What, you think your mom won't live to see next year?" That last sentence was like a slap to my face. The moment the words left his mouth, James realized he had gone too far. He scrambled to apologize, but it was already too late. I was so enraged I grabbed the nearest stool and hurled it at him without a second thought. "What did you just say? My mom won't live to next year. Who the hell do you think you're cursing? You stingy, disgusting man." The noise was so loud it drew a crowd. I couldn't stop myself. Anything within reach I picked up and threw at him. James stumbled around trying to dodge, but I kept hitting him over and over, leaving him no time to react. "What's going on here? Why all the shouting?" James's older sister was the first to arrive. When she saw me holding up a stool leg, ready to strike again, she rushed in to hold me back. His older brother quickly stepped between us to shield James, while my mother-in-law arrived breathless, her face dark as she took in the chaotic scene. "The New Year's almost here. Can't we have even a moment of peace?" I screamed, my voice hoarse with fury. "Ask your son. I came back to celebrate the holiday in good faith, and he has the nerve to curse my mom, saying she might not live to see her next birthday. Who's the one ruining the new year? I have to curse him out." I had completely lost control, my words spilling out with no filter, leaving everyone in his family frozen, their faces pale like they'd swallowed a fly. James's older brother couldn't hold back anymore. He turned and smacked his younger brother hard on the back. "You're a grown man. How could you say something like that? You cursed your own mother-in-law." James fumbled, trying to explain. I just slipped up. She kept bringing up how I didn't get her mom a gift, like she only cares about money. I hate being forced. Hearing that, I instantly recalled all those fake moral lessons he used to preach about how giving is affection, but asking is obligation. The fire inside me blazed even higher. Forced, my ass. You think I'm blinded by money? If I cared about money that much, would I have married you without demanding a single cent of bride price? For God's sake, has your conscience been eaten by dogs? What do you mean there wasn't a bride price? Who says there wasn't? James's mother, already stressed by the couple's fight, was visibly stunned when she heard me bring up the bride price. She could no longer stay silent. She had originally planned to mediate and calm things down, but that sentence changed everything. Her expression hardened immediately. James stood frozen, clearly shocked that things had escalated this far. Seeing his mother's suspicious gaze land on him, James hurried over to me, trying to fix things. "Wife, I'm sorry, it was my fault. Let's go home and talk, okay? I didn't mean what I said. With him bowing his head to apologize. Don't change the subject. Explain clearly to me. What do you mean there was no bride price? Back then, I didn't attend your wedding because you said Emily wanted a destination ceremony. But you told me the bride price would be the same as your sister-in-law's, $188,000. I even asked your sister to go with you to the bank and transfer the money into your account. James's sister, being called out, quickly nodded in confirmation. That's right, Mom. That's exactly what happened. Not just them, even I was stunned. So, they did actually give a bride price. But me? I never received a single dollar of it. Well, it's because James and I had a mutual agreement kind of marriage. I stammered, looking at my mother-in-law, trying to find the words. But before I could finish, James rushed in to interrupt. The entire family was packed into the living room. All eyes locked on James standing in the center of the room, as if he were on trial. At last, the truth came to light. His family had indeed given a betrothal gift, the exact same amount as his sister-in-law's, 188,000 yuan. But the entire sum had been secretly hidden away by James. James's mother growled, gripping a rolling pin in her hand and tapping it sharply on the table. Everyone thought James would bow his head and admit his fault. But to their surprise, James's twisted reasoning left me speechless. Not just me, but his entire family couldn't stand it any longer. You brat, what the hell are you talking about? Her parents raised their daughter to adulthood. When she spends money, it's at her own home. But when it comes to earning money, she's a daughter-in-law in your house. What's wrong with them receiving a little betrothal gift? If you think that way, then when your sister got married, should I have refused the bride price too? That's different. My sister isn't cheap like that, James reflexively retorted. The moment those words left his mouth, the entire room plunged into a suffocating silence. She'd probably be sick with rage too. James's family began scolding him in turn, like a family court convened to judge their unfilial son. But unlike my earlier anger, the feelings I once had for James had finally been eroded away. All because of a few heartless words over a betrothal gift. If I'd still held on to any hope before, hoping he'd change for the sake of our love, then in that moment all that was left inside me was a vast empty hollow. Mom, I want to speak to him alone for a bit. At the time, James's mother was still loudly berating him. The room was filled with voices, with everyone chiming in to criticize. I wasn't sure if she was truly angry or just putting on a show for my sake. But I no longer cared. I just wanted to bring this all to an end. James and I went into the room. I sat on the edge of the bed, silently gazing at him. Under my stare, he began to feel uneasy. Rubbing his nose, he forced a strained smile. I didn't mean to say it like that. You know how I am, right? I tend to speak bluntly. My mom's always saying I talk without thinking. Don't. Why didn't you give me the betrothal money? Your mom already transferred it. Why did you stay silent? I didn't want to hear his excuses anymore. I just wanted one clear answer. Why couldn't he bring himself to give it to me? I looked deep into his eyes. He blushed, his lips moving without sound. You were the one who said. James quickly turned his face away, avoiding my gaze. I simply smiled, then let everything go. Everything no longer meant anything to me. That very night, I packed my things and left my husband's home, suitcase in hand. As I stepped out the door, I heard James's mother calling after him, telling him to chase after me. But he only responded indifferently. She's just spoiled. Once she can't find a ride, she'll come back. Unfortunately for him, this time he was wrong. Even before our argument, I had already quietly called my father. That night I went straight home. It wasn't until after 7 in the evening that James finally called, only to find I had already blocked his number. They stayed close to comfort and console me, never leaving my side. Later, to help clear my mind, they quietly signed us up for a group tour and invited the whole family to come along and relax. James's mother, usually a reasonable woman, made her son kneel the moment she stepped into the house. In-laws, I only recently found out about all this. What James did was utterly unacceptable. As soon as I heard, and now that you're home, I brought him here to apologize. As she spoke, She scolded her son angrily while bowing repeatedly in apology to my parents. She even went so far as to take all the blame upon herself. As for James, he remained silent from beginning to end, head lowered, eyes red, unable to hold back. His mother raised her hand and struck him hard on the back, shouting furiously, "What are you standing there for? Hurry up and apologize to your in-laws. Have you no shame? Look at the mess you've made." The rest of James's family quickly chimed in to defend him. His sister explained that James hadn't been sleeping well lately, that his spirit was broken, and that he truly recognized his mistakes. Everyone tried to speak on his behalf, everyone except James himself, who stood in the corner, head bowed like a statue, silent as stone. As the elders, we should guide them toward reconciliation. My former mother-in-law continued softly, her voice tender and pleading. "He really knows he was wrong. Please, I hope you'll understand." But throughout the entire exchange, my parents remained silent, their eyes never leaving me, waiting for their daughter to say just one word. I shook my head gently. Only then did my mother finally speak, her voice calm but firm. "There's no need for you to apologize, sister-in-law. The two of them have come to this point, perhaps it just wasn't meant to be. As adults, we should let them part ways peacefully. Thankfully, nothing is too deeply entangled yet, and money hasn't become an unmanageable mess." Her words were gentle, yet they carried undeniable reason. Yet inexplicably, James suddenly exploded with rage. "Emily Johnson, don't you push it too far. My whole family came here to beg you. And you still act so high and mighty? Isn't it all about the money with you? Fine, if you want money, I'll give it to you." With that, he pulled out a bank card and hurled it at my face. His eyes filled with scorn and contempt. My entire family flushed with fury. Unable to contain himself, my father grabbed a glass from the table and flung it straight at him. "Dad!" I cried out in alarm, rushing forward to shield him, afraid James would retaliate out of control. James's older brother quickly stepped in to restrain him, his mother still holding him back. Scolded non-stop. "You damned fool! Shut your mouth already. If you can't speak decently, then say nothing at all." But James roared back, still full of rage. "What did I say that was wrong? If it wasn't about money, then what? She wouldn't shut up about the bride price. Now I'm giving her money, and it's still not enough? Fine, pick it up if you want it. Pick it up your damn self." I screamed, trembling, my finger pointing straight at his face. "James, do you think I'm so desperate for money that I'd stoop to picking up your scraps? Take your card. And take your whole family out of my sight. Tomorrow we're going to court. Whoever doesn't get the divorce is a dog. Fine. Divorce it is. Whoever doesn't get the divorce is a dog." James yelled back, refusing to back down. His mother trembled with fury, hitting and scolding him at the same time. "Shut your filthy mouth. Say one more word and I'll break your legs." James and I officially divorced. 30 days later, holding the divorce certificate in my hand, I walked away without once looking back. I blocked every form of contact from him, his phone number, WeChat, everything. I even had someone else come to collect the last of my belongings. I never wanted to see that man again for the rest of my life. Later, through a family connection, I remarried. This time, the bride price was $16,000, transferred directly to my account. Even though it was my second marriage, my husband gave me everything I deserved. Compared to the absurdity of my first marriage, this one felt like being given a second chance at life. Not long after the wedding, I became pregnant. When our child turned 3, I happened to run into an old classmate. Through her, I learned more about James. Did you know? Ever since he divorced you, James has had the worst luck ever. She shared the unfortunate tales of his life with barely concealed delight. I used to think he was all right, but after the divorce, everyone finally saw his true colors. Always spewing the same tired arguments at everyone, yet having no idea who he really was. His mom ran herself ragged arranging blind dates. It took forever to find someone who agreed. And then, just because the girl's family asked for a bride price of $18,000, he suddenly broke things off, even though his family isn't poor. I just don't get it. He even told my husband that he didn't want to turn marriage into a business deal, didn't want to fight about money. I frowned slightly and let out a bitter laugh. A marriage where you don't talk about money? What else is there to talk about? Love. Then he found another girl. This one didn't ask for a bride price, but instead requested a condo in the city center. My friend glanced at me and lowered her voice. You know how it is. Those city center condos go for 4 or 5 million now. There's no way James's family had that kind of money. I heard he sold their house in the small town, borrowed from relatives, then got a bank loan just to scrape together enough to buy it. Now he's paying $5,000 a month in installments. My husband said James claimed giving a bride price was like throwing money away, but buying a home at least puts his name on something. So he chose the house. I couldn't help widening my eyes in shock. He only made $8,000 a month, with $5,000 going to the bank and the rest to pay off family debt. He must have completely lost his mind. But my friend wasn't finished. You'd think everything would be settled, right? But no. Turns out the girl heard some old rumors. His sister told him to sell it to pay off the relatives, but he refused. Now the whole family argues about it every single day. Hearing that, it felt like a heavy weight had lifted from my chest. Knowing the man who once caused me such pain was now living in such chaos. Somehow it brought me peace. Later, I heard bits and pieces of other stories about him. By then, my daughter had already started first grade. Apparently, James had gotten married again, only to get divorced once more. And the reason? Honestly, it left me speechless. Because his new wife brought home a few rice cakes from her company during the Dragon Boat Festival as gifts for her family, he exploded, accusing her of being the kind of woman who feeds her brother and doesn't care about her husband's family. They argued nonstop and eventually parted ways. When I heard it, I wasn't even surprised. With someone like James, so selfish to his very core, spending a lifetime alone wasn't the least bit unexpected.